What's up, everybody? The broke grad here, repping the alma mater, Texas Tech. Welcome if you're out there. Today I'm going to show you how to specifically remove a carburetor from your Buddy 50, take it apart, clean it, and put it back. That's a common issue that you're going to run into if you've been letting it sit for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, years. What happens is essentially water condenses into your fuel and makes like a varnish that clogs the carburetor. It clogs the jets in the carburetor, and then the engine just can't get fuel. Okay, so you can try doing this yourself based off this video if you want, and maybe save some money at the repair shop. So give it a try. So to access this seat, you can push the key in, literally like push it in and to the left. And that seat pops up. And we need to lift this seat up to get to the carburetor. And to do so, we've got 1, 2, and down there, 3 and 4 bolts that need to be removed. And you can do so with a 10mm socket. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so you can see I've got the top of this taken off again. Just those 4 screws, very simple. Now the Buddy 50, the carburetor's right here, okay? So to take this off, first we're gonna take off these bolts right here. These are 8mm bolts, okay? So we're gonna start by taking those 2 off. That's this first step. Once you have these 2 bolts out, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna come back to this air filter housing, and underneath there and there, we have 2 more 8mm bolts that we're gonna take out. So we've taken these 2 bolts out now, set those aside. And now this whole piece can come out towards us, okay? And what's gonna happen is there's a plastic spacer that's gonna fall back there, just by the way. So I'm gonna pull this out, and the carb, well, the carb was supposed to come with it. It fits in right there. But what I can tell just happened, I believe, is this clamp right here has actually failed. So this clamp was not quite tight enough. That makes my life a little bit easier. But here's our carburetor. This is what we're gonna be cleaning, okay? So like I said, we're gonna have a little plastic spacer fall though. So right here, let me see if I can get it. This black spacer fits between the carb here and this manifold. That's gonna fall, so set that aside as well. So I have a feeling this carb needs to be completely broken down and cleaned. So I'm gonna try to fully remove it from the scooter here. One of the first things I can see, right, so this tube is just hanging off. We can leave that. We've got this piece of electrical right here that we can remove. So I think we can just take this black cap off. I don't know if I can do it with one hand. Give me one sec. There we go. And it looks like we have just 2 Phillips head screws that we're gonna go ahead and undo and take this off. Okay, so I was able to take the screws out again. It was 2 Phillips head. Be careful. If you can see there, they've got a little washer on them. You don't wanna lose that. And then this is what's actually holding down that component there. You can see it's a little dirty there. I'll clean that up. But then what I was able to do, I'll show you here. Here's the carb. And here's the piece. It's got that little needle at the end. I was able to really just work it loose and pull it straight out. And you can see that that's actually pretty dirty. We're probably gonna need to clean that as well. All right, so I can see here that this is the fuel. Okay, that's the filter. And that goes into the carburetor, which makes sense. Now, if you zoom in here, we can see what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to pinch off this hose with something like hemostats or forceps. If you haven't used these before, you can see that they lock really tight. And then there is that little clip right there. We're gonna have to use pliers, pull it up gently, and try to remove this. So I'll show you the setup. All right, so you can see right here,
on the bottom. I've got this forceps clamped on it. I've moved this clamp up. I'll give you a different angle. Forceps are clamped on there. Move this clamp is down here, moved it up. Okay, you can see I was able to basically put a plier, or you could use a screwdriver, pry it up and push it off rather than pull. Pulling on this, I would assume, is gonna be bad for the rubber. This right here is our last attachment, and it looks like I can just twist this off like this. And once I get this fully off, the carb should be free. And yep. So I was able to get that free. You can see there's a spring on here and this needle. So I would just recommend being a little careful with that. But here is our carb, completely free. Okay, so we're gonna take this apart. You can see it's pretty dirty on the outside. We're gonna take this apart. We're gonna look at the internals, clean it. We're gonna clean the bowl, clean all the jets. Try to walk you through that process. So this is a really clever idea that actually my girlfriend came up with, is cover your, I don't know, a kitchen bowl with some aluminum foil so that we can work in this carb. But if we look at this thing, let me get in there. I mean, it's very gross. The outside's gross. So we're gonna clean the outside. I do know, be a little careful with those O-rings and any of the rubber parts, really. You don't wanna let this carb cleaner right here stay on them. But I would recommend just spray all over this thing and get it real nice and clean on the outside. And use paper towels to dry everything as good as you can. If you have the blue paper towels, those are amazing. Okay, this carb is way cleaner now. Really, I truly just cleaned all of the outside. But look at that. So that is a mixture of what came off the outside as well as the gasoline, right? So that fuel is a nasty color. Again, a pretty good indicator that this carb is the problem. If we flip it upside down, here's the bowl of the carb. I want to take this off. You see there's 2 Phillips head screws. I'm going to take this off with a screwdriver. To do this, you need to apply a lot of downforce. You really don't want to strip these screws, so apply a lot of downforce when you're doing this. All right, bowl is off. This is the bowl. It's not, you know, disgusting, but we got more of this really gross gas, okay? So we're gonna clean this out. Again, be pretty careful of that O-ring. You don't want that thing to dry out and come out. We also have this float here and a couple of jets, right? So we have some jets here and here. We're really gonna need to clean these. So I'm gonna show you my approach. I'm gonna start with this. I'm literally just gonna spray this out, pour it in, wash it with a paper towel. That'll be the first thing. Okay, so the first step to disassembling this guy is we're gonna take out these carbs, or sorry, these jets. You can see that they'll fit just a flathead screwdriver. Just go ahead and unscrew them. Be very gentle about it, but go ahead and unscrew them. So here's what those 2 jets look like. If you look through them, you should be able to see light. I cannot see light in the small one, and I can barely see it through the big one. I can see that it's clogged up. So again, I think this is the issue. We can also take this float off, and we can do so by removing this bar here. You see this bar? You push that out, and you can pull out the whole contraption. Be very careful though, because, I don't know if you can see it, in the middle here, in the middle, there is a spring and a float, or basically a counterweight, I believe. You do not want to lose that. Here it is fully disassembled. Not too bad a buildup. We can see there's some discoloration. So we're going to spray this whole thing with carb cleaner. We're literally going to spray every hole you see, every single hole. And then we're going to, I should show you, here's the float, and there's that little, I believe, like I said, a counterbalance. Could be wrong on that. We're gonna clean all of these. So we're gonna use the carb cleaner on these, use it on all these, and on this, I'll show you another trick to get those really clean. But yeah, go ahead and just spray everything. So I very thoroughly rinsed literally every nook and cranny in here, okay? Every hole, inside and outside very, very thoroughly with that carb cleaner. I also ended up cleaning these. You can see that again, that little counterweight there. Clean these, and I cleaned these jets. And take a look at these. They have small holes on the sides, so those need to be cleaned. The interior is also a small school. True for both of them. So the trick to clean these is you can find yourself some spare wire, and you just need a single strand like that one kicking off right here. And you go through all those holes, and you're literally just gonna poke it through and clear it. So that's what I'm gonna do next. Once we've done that, I believe it's time to reassemble. So since these screw in, we're gonna put those in first. They go in those middle, remember. Then we'll go ahead and put in the float. We'll put on the bowl, tying it down, and we'll throw it back in the bike. All right, everybody, here's that carb, fully clean. We're gonna try to put it back in here. This is the proper orientation, the bowl down towards the bottom. And this tube right here should be facing towards you. So if we get in here again, and you remember, this guy right here, this spring, goes right on this top and it threads on. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on first. All right, one last final thing before we put this thing together. This guy right here. Let me zoom out maybe. You see that ring right there on the inside? Right where that black edge starts is that brown ring. We need to clean that too. So clean that with some carb cleaner. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this back on top of our clean carburetor. So with this reattached, we're gonna come in again with this fuel line. Remember, there's the hemostats or forceps on it. We're gonna put this fuel line on here. We're gonna push this clamp together, pull it down so it clamps on here. Then we're gonna remove the hemostats. Now that we have this and this reattached, the last thing I'm gonna do is, actually I'm gonna hold off on this. I think it's gonna be easier to do this guy first. So this guy attaches to this box here, okay? And it attaches right in here. This is gonna go over top of that metal. And then we're gonna come in with this clamp here, and we're gonna clamp it. I think it's gonna be easier to do it in this order. Okay, this went very smoothly. I think I do like how I did this in this order. You can see it's basically got this rubber gasket that you attach to, and then you tighten this. It's the 3rd of July, if you can't tell, there's a lot of fireworks. This basically hose clamp, you can then put, I found that with the screw oriented the way it is here, it's very easy to get to with the Phillips head. Now, I think we should put this guy in. Apologize for the plans, I live by an airport. So you can see one side has an O-ring, one side doesn't. The O-ring, basically it's gonna go like this in there. The O-ring needs to touch against the aluminum on the bike. The carb itself already has an O-ring that's gonna go on this side. So I think I'm gonna start putting this in and bolt this in first. So that actually went in pretty easily right there. So it's bolted in here. I think the next thing I'll do is, because this has got a little play in it, I'm gonna go ahead and bolt these back on, and then I'll finish off with that electrical component, which is probably the choke as I think about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and bolt these. All right, that went on really easily. So the very last thing we have to do is reattach this guy here. So if you remember, this is gonna go into that hole right there. We're then going to, made a mess now, put in, I guess this washer of sorts. Screw it down with the 2 Phillips heads, and then we'll throw its cover back on. And then the carb should be reassembled. All right, that carburetor is fully installed now. Last 2 things to do is we want to bolt down this guy again, and we're just gonna put that seat back on top, and then we're gonna try to start it. Okay, we've
We did all those repairs. That was actually last night. Gonna give this a shot again. Same thing, turn the key on. Make sure that kill switch is on. Press one brake and hit the starter. There we go. Got it working. Let it run for a little while, right? Ride it. Get that thing working. Hope that helped everybody.